Thank you for clicking on Star Trek Comic Book Review. Today we are reviewing Star Trek number 22 from DC Comics in 1986. This review was covered in episode 221 of the podcast, which was released November 7th, 2015. Please go ahead and like and subscribe and enjoy the show. Alright, so this came out January of 1986. It's called Wolf on the Prowl. It is written by Tony Isabella, artist by Tom Sutton and Ricardo Villagran, letters by A. Mas Lai, colorist M. Wolfman, and editor is Robert Greenberger. So I think this might be Robert Greenberger's first foray into editing these, which, as we know, he sticks around for a very long time. So the cover shows a landing party consisting of Kirk, Chekhov, a somewhat punk version of Uhura, because her hair is all sticking up, and McCoy. And they're standing on a rocky planet with the Excelsior above them. And then above all of that, we see a woman's face with her arms outstretched, reaching for the reader. And the caption reads, "Kirk's crew is possessed by the spirit of Jack the Ripper." So the story starts with Kirk on the bridge of the Excelsior receiving orders to visit a recently first contacted planet that has some ancient depictions of a Taz-era Kirk in its temple. The planet seems to have a flipped religion where they worship an evil god. The hero in these ancient texts is actually referred to as James T. Kirk. Kirk assures the Admiral that he knows nothing of these people, but he agrees to investigate. While this is all happening, we are treated to some glimpses of a crewman being murdered by an unknown assailant with a knife. Lovebirds Conum and Bryce find the killed crewman and written words in blood that say Red Jack. Later, in a briefing room, Kirk and Scotty retell the events of the original series episode Wolf in the Fold. We learn that a young mustached Scotty killed a woman while possessed by Red Jack, aka Jack the Ripper. Scotty's mustache vanishes towards the end of this retelling as Spock and Kirk are able to clear his name and capture Red Jack by sedating a human in which Red Jack was possessing at the time. And they beam Red Jack's atoms in a disbursement field out into space. The crew then speculate that this obviously did not kill Red Jack as originally hoped. Kirk is suddenly contacted about more murders within the ship. Kirk arrives at the site of the new murders to see another message written in blood. This one reads, "Look for the tape." They also find a severely injured Conum who is too injured to say who the killer is. They find the audio tape of Red Jack, taunting all of the crew by name and telling them in gruesome details how he's going to kill them all. Later, Kirk visits the coffins of the slain crewmen alone. He quietly tells them that they will not be forgotten. Later, they arrive at the planet and are getting ready to beam down. Lieutenant Bryce appears late, and Kirk chastises her for it. She says that she was in sickbay to check on Conum before she left. With that, they all beam down. Meanwhile, in sickbay, Bearclaw arrives to see several more people killed within sickbay. Again, there's blood on the wall. This time it reads, "One more to go." Bearclaw reports his findings to security, but before they arrive, Conum falls out of a nearby closet. Bearclaw assumes the Klingon did all of this and is about to fire his phaser into the man's face. Meanwhile, on the planet, the crew beam down and all heck breaks loose. The people are seeing Kirk, who they recognize from the temple paintings, as the good god that will battle with their evil one. They're able to catch one of the fleeing aliens, who does not really give them any information. Suddenly, they hear a screech from Chekhov nearby. Meanwhile, on the ship, Conum is passing out due to the pain, but he's able to tell Bearclaw that the one who is doing this is Bryce. Back on the planet, Kirk arrives to see Bryce with a knife dripping with Chekhov's blood. Red Jack, speaking through Bryce, tells Kirk that he has arrived just in time to see his friend die. To be continued.
Chekhov? No! Not Chekhov!
Yeah, that's a pretty long knife, too.
And pretty bloody.
Yeah.
Now, there's like a lot of blood on this one, but you'll see in the next issue, for those that have the comic, it's a lot cleaner in the start of the next issue. Yes, the knife. Anyway, so yeah, Rejak, our old buddy Rejak, feeding another incorporeal being that feeds off of the emotions, specifically the fear of other races.
Right. I liked it. I was surprised. I really liked this issue. I thought it was a good mystery as far as who was the killer. I mean, because, that was the whole point of the first movie, or the first episode. Is Scotty really doing the killings, or you find out later that he was being possessed? But, I think this story did a pretty good job of keeping Bryce's identity as being the possessed one secret throughout the whole thing.
Right.
It was good.
Now, something I want to know about is, if you look at the first issue, or the first page of the issue, it shows kind of a blue lady's hand and face and silvery hair, and you only see part of her on the opening title page. It's a female, but still blue and stuff. And then later, the people that actually find the writing on the wall of Rejak is Bryce and Conan.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so all the murders from that point forward that happen after that are definitely Bryce. But this first murder, where Bryce and Conan actually find the word Rejak written in blood, I guess, on the wall.
Right.
Did Bryce do that murder too?
I'm assuming. I thought she did. I just kind of thought that, she killed him, and then later Bryce and Conan find the body, because it doesn't say that it just happened when they show up.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the image on the first page, if that is supposed to actually be a person and not just a
spirit,
yeah, it's a good point, because this person has long white hair, and Bryce obviously doesn't.
Yeah, it does not look like Bryce. He does not look like a human, unless maybe the human is Storm, X-Men Storm or something.
Right. That's funny that you mentioned Storm, because to me, Uhura on the cover looked like Storm.
The Halle Berry version?
No, I was thinking more of the 80s punk version.
Oh, because her hair is like standing straight up.
Right. That's
funny. Interesting. And of course they show an image of a lady's head and then claws and stuff.
Right.
On the cover, which is kind of an interesting choice too.
Which is also not Bryce.
Exactly. Although it looks closer to Bryce than the person we see partially on the title page inside the comic. Anyway.
Yeah, whatever. I'll be honest. I didn't notice the face when I was reading it, or at least when I was going back and rereading it to do the synopsis. I somehow missed it, because I just knew that it was Bryce. And in fact, I actually made a note that I liked the beginning with just showing the hand and the killer POV type shot of the killing, and it reminded me of Friday the 13th. The whole time you watch Friday the 13th, all you see is the hand killing people.
Right.
And then the big reveal at the end is, oh my goodness, it was, Betsy Palmer, this nice old lady, is doing all these killings. Yeah. And I kind of was like, I like
an old lady did that? Oh my gosh. I never saw that. Oh, you ruined it for me.
Oh, I ruined it. Sorry.
No, I've seen it.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking, that was kind of a cool Friday the 13th vibe,
Right.
On the last panel you find out that the killer's been Bryce, this young girl. But you're right, the very first panel ruins that to a degree, because it actually shows the face, or the side of the face.
Right.
I'm going to ignore that little panel.
And go with my original visioning for this.
Exactly.
Well, something that definitely struck me is how many new characters we end up seeing in this comic. Lieutenant Corwin, if he was on a previous issue, I don't remember him.
He's the security gentleman, right?
No, Richardson is the security gentleman.
Okay.
So there's a Lieutenant Corwin that at the beginning looks like the AV guy at high school that's setting up the AV equipment. So he's the guy that has the tape of what happened to Scotty and everybody the first time they came into contact with Red Shack. Which, by the way, very funny about Scotty having the mustache and stuff in the first panel.
Right. I wonder why they did that.
I don't know. Were they trying to link it between current Scotty with the mustache and original Scotty?
I think they
I don't know.
Probably made a mistake and then didn't go back and fix it.
Anyway, but it's kind of jarring. But back to this. So we've got Lieutenant Corwin, who is just like the AV guy. He's just handling the tapes. And then we got security guy Richardson, which is like, I'm not sure if Richardson might have popped up before or not, but I didn't remember him exactly, so I was counting him as a new one. And Dr. Geller,
Yep.
the attractive blonde doctor in sickbay who appears to be all business. It's like, who are all these people? It's like, ooh, somebody's got to die to show this as a serious thing. So I was thinking they were all going to die at one point or another, so I don't want to ruin anything. But I wasn't right about that. I was just struck by how many new important bridge characters that were popping up.
Right. Well, that's one of the complaints I had as far as what happens in sickbay. We know that Dr. Geller is one of the 3 people that Bearclaw stumbles on. But who are the other 2 people? I mean, sickbay is usually not that popular with people who aren't there to be because they're sick.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't think
McCoy.
It matters. No, it's not McCoy. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, it could be a nurse, and it could be a patient. It's like, well, they don't matter, do they? They just let's get the numbers up a little bit to make it really serious. But
I think one of them was probably Nurse Chapel. That's why we don't see her.
That's terrible. So
Anyways.
yeah, so the the painting of Kirk fighting the god of evil, that was pretty funny. And I found it interesting how, he's got the original Taw's t-shirt kind of uniform, tunic.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a reboot, or not a reboot, a Star Trek the Movie / Wrath of Khan phaser, which was, wait a minute, he didn't have that phaser in the original Wolf in the Fold episode. So I counted that as mistake. But I just thought the art was weird.
Right. Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was interesting, and I was thinking to myself, how could this be? And then when they explained it, it's like, okay, well, fine. It's just Red Jack playing his games. But
right. Well, you want me to tell you the part that I couldn't figure it out?
What?
Is that, going from back when I was a kid, I thought that the movie Kirk and the TV Kirk were 2 different people because they don't look alike. That, one has permed hair, one has blonde hair. When I was a kid, I was like, those are 2 different people. So when I saw this, and then when they beam down and everybody just kind of looks over and sees this, the captain, and they're all like, oh, God, it's Kirk. And I'm like, how do you know? It's a different looking guy. I mean, yes, he's like, 20 years older, but I guess it's the hairstyle that always threw me off when I was a kid.
Okay, so when you were watching the reruns, because you're too young to watch the original ones, of Brady Bunch, and the whole male side of the family get perms one season for no apparent reason, were you thinking there was a whole new cast?
No, because they were still all the same age. And same weight.
And same weight. Okay. Speaking of weight...
You don't think that Shatner changed between the original series and the movie?
Not much. I mean, the hair, yeah, I agree with that.
But even the color of the hair. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I know it's Shatner, and I love it.
I know it's the Shat. Oh, by the way, did you see the Shat showed up in the Country Music Awards thing?
Oh, no. What for?
No good reason, quite frankly. I was at somebody else's place for dinner, and they had the CMAs on. And for the most part, I'm not really a country music fan, so it's like a bunch of people in hats. How entertaining! But then Shat comes on in a stormtrooper outfit.
No way.
Way. And it's like, hey, it's Shatner, and I really don't know if I care. So it was some kind of schlocky thing. I really didn't listen.
Where he forgot what franchise he's from again.
It's all part of the
Is this
joke.
not it? Oh man.
Well, you know, on those award presentation shows, they often have really lame humor.
Yes.
It really kind of struck me like that, but whatever. Yes,
I'm gonna have to look that up.
The never-ending Shat. Yeah, CMA, Country Music Awards 2015, Shatner. Maybe somebody's posted something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
On
I'm
YouTube.
sure it's out there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what else. I thought it was kind of ridiculous when they were loading the tape. So when Lieutenant Corwin loads the tape, it's like, I mean, didn't they have those little painted flat squares of wood that they used to use for storage on the original TV show?
And the nickname was Tape.
They called them tapes on the
they
TV
called
show?
them data tapes or something like that.
Did they?
I think
Okay.
that terminology was there.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. But it's like it just kind of is amazing how much we have moved beyond tapes. So, not very good foreshadowing of the near future by the people who did the TV show, apparently, and this book. But I just wanted to comment from a technology standpoint. I don't use tape for anything anymore, except for maybe closing up a shipping box. So,
you never
tape
bust
is
out the VHS?
so much in the rearview mirror for me. It's just amazing. We actually do have some VHS tapes, but they probably don't even work anymore. I mean,
right. Let's see. I guess I'm pretty much the same way.
I mean, how much do you? I mean, even discs, CDs. I haven't touched a CD in years.
CD, no.
Now, Blu-rays.
DVD, I do, and Blu-ray.
Yeah, I hardly ever do anything with DVDs, but Blu-rays, sure, I use those all the time. But even that, the successor to tape media that was going to last forever. I mean, I remember science fiction futuristic TV shows where there was, it was like supposed to be hundreds of years in the future, but there was still a CD player, or they were using a CD as a medium.
Right.
It's like, ooh, how futuristic, and now we're even moving beyond those. Whatever.
Yep. It's all digital. It's all in the cloud.
Yeah.
Back to this issue, the belly dancer from the beginning of the flashback does not look anything like the belly dancer from the actual episode.
You went back and rewatched the episode.
Well, yeah, because I've seen this episode, right? But it's been a long time. And then when we did the Red Jack episode of Star Trek The Next Generation a few weeks back, at the time I realized, oh, man, maybe I don't know it as well as I thought I did. So I did go back and rewatch it. And she's wearing like this red frilly thing, and this woman is wearing yellow. So I'm just saying, doesn't quite match up.
She went with Command Yellow.
Right up there with the mustache. Just doesn't seem right.
Right. And what's the tunic he's wearing? Because it kind of looks like the current movie tunic.
It's like a cross between the two.
Right. So when I first saw it, I was thinking, what's with the mustache? And nice tunic he's got on. Is that supposed to be like a casual kind of thing? Casual tunic kind of thing. He's like not wearing his uniform. He's on shore leave or something.
Right.
But then I thought he was just in his normal uniform, red uniform, in the TV show. And then
in the episode, yep.
And then sure enough, in the next a few panels down, there he is back in his red uniform. All right.
Nope. Exactly.
It's just all over the place.
Right. I will admit that I liked seeing Spock in a Star Trek comic. We got to see him in the little flashback, because he's off on his own ship.
Mm-hmm.
I did like, the 2 or 3 panels that we actually got to see Spock, and then and it made me miss him. I was like, oh yeah, we are in a Star Trek original series continuity without Spock. It's kind of weird.
It is. But, I think Savic's doing a great job replacing, but come on. You can't long-term replace Spock.
Right.
Don't even try. Or else you'll die in a transporter accident. Okay. So it's kind of funny how Richardson keeps on getting dressed down by people. He says something about how not believing how cool Kirk is after, some of his crew die, and they're in like such a dire situation. And then Chekhov is like snaps back at him, says, "V can die once, but he'll die. He can die 600 times."
Right.
And it's like, oh, Chekhov, very cool to say. But it's like Richardson is just like getting knocked around. Later he'll get, or was it earlier? Anyway, he gets dressed down from. It is later. Maybe it's in the next issue. I'm not sure, but he gets dressed down by McCoy because he says, "Oh boy, it really looks like Chekhov's not going to make it." I guess it is in the next issue.
Right.
Anyway, Richardson keeps on getting like thwacked in the head by the different characters.
Yeah, he's the punching bag of this story.
He is. I figured because he was a security guy, he was going to end up dying, and maybe he does because we haven't read the second issue yet. But I was wondering why he got out of his football player outfit to go on the landing party thing.
It's an away mission. You gotta wear the cool jacket.
Well, you're going to go into a situation where there's going to be danger. I mean, why get out of your football player duds? It's like, okay, fine. He's got the away mission outfit, but if I was going to go to a situation like that, I would want all the protection I could get.
Right.
Just saying.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. Okay,
Anything
so
else?
Last thing to say is Scotty didn't go on the away mission because he had too much personal involvement. But Bryce went, and her boyfriend was attacked and is near death. But she can go on the away mission. It's like, I don't know. It didn't add
but
up.
Scotty was actually possessed. It's a little different.
And we come to find out, so was she. Anyway.
We don't know that yet.
I know, but personal involvement? I mean, if your boyfriend is like near death, that'd be a lot of personal involvement.
Right.
Maybe not as much as being taken over like 20 years ago and forced to kill people, but anyway, I just thought the excuse was lame.
Nah, I hear you.
But later we kind of find out why it's good that Scotty stayed on board. But why didn't they just say that instead of making up the lame excuse? I don't know. Whatever. That's my last comment.
All right, my last comment is I wasn't the biggest fan of them saying that this planet is backwards because it worships a evil god, or I always hate it when they do something's inherently evil or whatever. I mean, because from our point of view, we would see it as being evil, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they see it as evil. I mean, do they actually say, "Oh, hail the evil Red Jack"? I don't think they do. Am I making sense?
Well, kinda. Of course, I will say, in defense of the comic, if anything is evil, it's Red Jack.
Sure.
And this is
But if you were in a society that they worshipped him, would they worship him because he was evil, or because they've been conditioned to think that he's right?
I don't know. I don't know what the case is. And maybe they don't know either. But the only structure in the entire place, which I find difficult to believe, is a temple to Rejak and to evil.
And to Kirk.
I don't think it's a temple to Kirk. He just happens to be in one of their frescoes. But, well, I mean, I think they're trying to get at the point that, most society worship good, not evil. However, in this case, they worship evil, not good. So I think that was the main thing. Now, whether they're being influenced or not, well, yes, they're probably being influenced, but you wouldn't know until you really got there. And even if you got there, how would you know?
Right.
What we'll see in the next issue these people are definitely under Regex influence.
Thank you for listening to our Star Trek comic book review of DC Comics number 22. This is all part of our Red Jack Halloween celebration, so go off and read the Embrace the Wolf and Halloween miniseries. This episode and all other episodes are available on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from.